Sorry, brother. I lost my control. I was trying to pull up the live stream so I could join in the chat with everybody. Hello, hello, brother. How are you doing tonight? Followed by me fumbling for the mute button. How's everything treating you tonight, brother? Yeah, and I'm gonna double check too to make sure the Patreon posted it as it should, and make sure that people are there. But if you're in the chat, please feel free to drop a hello. We would love to hear from you. Oh, well, I can hear you. All right. All right, everybody, if you're there, we're going to wait. William is coming live on air in just a minute.
I am here.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
Were you muted on the other side?
I was actually. You know, that's something that I was just about to mention. Thank you for that, by the way, Kalina.
Yeah.
So, and it looks like Kalina is the only one in the chat room, so nobody even, as of right now, nobody even probably heard what they didn't hear. That's exactly what I was about to say before my microphone mishap, is that the only reason I ever broadcast on YouTube, Kalina says she can hear me now, so fantastic. The only reason I ever broadcast on YouTube anymore is doing shows with you, and it's so few and far between, it feels like, and they've changed YouTube a little bit. It seems like an alien experience every time I do it. No pun intended. Ha 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 ha. But, are you there now, Rob?
I'm here, but I'm trying to look at Patreon, so I'm muted. I'm just going to keep on muted because there's really nobody here anyway at the moment, so we'll just keep the mic opened. I'm looking to make sure I posted it, and I do believe I did because I shared the link out with everybody. Okay, yeah, it's right there. All right. Well, I am going to share this again on the Facebook page and make sure everybody knows that we're here tonight too. And let me make sure. Okay, all Patreon members can see the post. Good.
You know what we could do? We could make it public.
We probably could. Let me.
If you want to, I'm just pulling that out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, actually, it might not be a bad idea. Give me 2 minutes here to double check this real quick, and then if we don't get nobody in here, we will definitely go live to a studio audience near you.
You know what? Actually, what's interesting, for the longest time, I'd been hovering beneath 1,000 subscribers on my personal channel on YouTube. And I don't make content anymore. It just doesn't happen. And when I logged in today, I was up to 1,400 subscribers.
Oh, congratulations, bro. That's amazing.
Right, but I don't even believe that. I don't know what's going on. What I'm saying is that maybe something's wonky with the algorithm again. You know, it's entirely odd that, yes, we have, as Kalina points out, 4 concurrent viewers.
Okay.
That's the only one talking. Is there anybody out there that can hear our voices?
I'm one. I don't know if you have your YouTube tab open too. That would be 3.
No.
Me, you, and Kalina. No. Okay, so it's 2. So there's 2 more people out here. Yeah. Kalina's subscribers on her channel have gone up dramatically too. She's got over 2,000 views now on her first video. It's fucking amazing.
Well,
pardon my French.
Well, of course. No, then that's what I'm saying, is that maybe John is here. Hello, John.
Hey, brother. How are you doing?
So that accounts for someone else. So that could just be all of us.
Wonderful.
But with the recent change in ownership in Twitter, I've noticed a lot of things happening on Twitter that are unusual. And then I come over to YouTube, something that I don't even do anymore, and I see that I've gained a bunch of subscribers. None of my videos have really gone up in views. It's not like my videos have had a recent surge in popularity. So who knows? That's what been a recurring theme on this show. that we've talked about for a while is the all-seeing algorithm. You know, how much is the computer system controlling behind the scenes versus how much we're creating our own reality.
Right.
That type.
Right. Right. And that's crazy too. So let me see here. All right, we've got us and John here too. All right, and one more person on top of that. All right, so
And I personally notified some of the regulars, you know, like Savita.
Yeah, I think I ended up not posting it for like an hour before, which is unusual. Instead of sending it when you sent it to me like 4 hours before, I just sent it like 1 hour before. Um, all right. Why don't you, William?
Mhm.
Why don't you make it public for about 5 minutes and it'll pull in at least a few people, and then you can put it on unlisted. So whoever gets the notifications can pop in later.
Okay.
Uh,
Visibility. Public. This feels so naughty for some reason.
That's all right. Yeah, Yit's in the machine, that's for sure.
Oh,
All right, well,
I don't know if I can change this while I'm.
I can change it too. Wendy, hello, Wendy, Wendy. Nice to see you
Oh, wait.
here. We love you, Wendy.
Did it.
Oh, perfect, beautiful.
Da-na-na-na.
Da-da-da-da. Welcome, welcome, everyone. All
Okay.
right.
It's starting to pick up now. All right, so let me recap for those of you just joining us. We went live moments ago. How long ago, actually? We've been live for about 7 minutes and 49 seconds, according to my in studio counter, only to find out that I did the smoothest introduction I've done of my radio career, and yet my microphone was not on recording for some unknown reason to me. And then Rob dropped the ball, and then we started realizing, oh my God, there's nobody that's even in our Patreon show. And then I had the impulse, well, if for some reason our Patreon family is not here with us, let us make the content public and see who's out there that actually would like to hear tonight's channeling. It's an interesting poll. For those of you that are just joining us from the public sphere, because I see our viewership is going up right now, twice a month, if you're supporting Rob on Patreon, there are two special shows that are done monthly. One of them is the monthly poll, and that's if you're supporting Rob on Patreon, you get to suggest a topic into the Patreon private group for his supporters, and then we will all vote on them. And whichever one gets the most votes, that's the winner, you know, simple enough. And then Aridif or Treb or some other intergalactic or interdimensional being will channel about the topic for the Patreon people. Then the other one we do is a private question and answer thing for Patreon people, where you get to submit a question and it goes into a drawing. You have an equal opportunity of it being pulled out, and once your question gets drawn, either Treb or Aridif or some other being will answer the question for you. So that's what's going on, and tonight you, if you're here from the public, are privy to that. Did I miss anything, Rob?
No, you didn't miss anything at all. And tonight, the topic at hand is going to be an exciting one. And what did you say it was again?
It is an overview of complete human history. Here, let me read the exact one. This is from Max. Max says, an overview of complete human history. I would like to hear an overview of human history, starting with the first Anunnaki intervention, highlighting the most important events and timelines in whatever manner Aridif wants to present it. So that's it. That's going to be a hot one tonight, I think.
Oh, yeah. And it's a beautiful subject. A lot of people are interested in this. And I want to say hello, first of all, for our Patreon people who made it here. Hello, John. Hello, Wendy. Kalina. Hello. And for all of you who popped in elsewise, Austin, Jacob, Tim, Judy. Hello, hello. Welcome, guys. We're glad you're here. It is a very special night. This is usually a Patreon only night, and we're sharing it out to the public for whoever wants to hear it. Whoever subscribed and gets the notification will see and hear this and get an opportunity to see what we do at Patreon. We are going to be restructuring some things next year. Every year we change something in the ET Whisperer at some rate or some level. We've made a ton of changes this year, but next year we're going to be making a few change. We're only going to have one tier for Patreon, and we're going to be integrating mostly the benefit to be there is obviously the extra material that comes twice a month, but also the discounts that you'll get on more of the courses and events. And we're going to be ramping events and courses up next year to a big level. We already got it set up. We just finished our last course. We'll have its final part out of the 8 parts that were there. We'll have its final part there within the next couple days, and we'll be starting a new one soon. So welcome, welcome, guys. I cannot wait for tonight's channeling. I can't wait for next year to start, and I can't wait to get really busy with all the information. Just this last course that we did, the human sexuality course, was amazing. It really brought out a lot of things. And some of these things William and I have talked about previously on Patreon. William happens to be an expert in the field of circumcision and the traumas that can cause for males, and advocated for that as a public voice for many years. And beyond that, the course covered so many topics. And John, who's in the audience with us now, has done a great amount of work on that course. Amazing stuff, just really great stuff that's come out. So we're sharing a little bit of what we're doing on the side with you guys tonight because we were lonely and we wanted as much cool people to join us. So welcome all the cool kids. We love you guys being here. Thank you for being here too. Omni Collective, hey, how's it going? If I missed you guys, if I missed any of you on the hellos and welcomes, I apologize, but I think I got everybody.
Yeah, we certainly we have a much fuller room right now. I wonder where all the regulars are. They're all conspicuously missing.
Yeah, Kim's here. She just popped in. She said she's been here the whole time, but had to come back to the tab.
The mystery.
Yeah.
The mystery of the missing fourth person, the concurrent viewer. So, yeah, I myself am undertaking the course that Aridif just did. And it is definitely a fascinating one. I had some advanced access to it, helping work on it behind the scenes. And it is some of the most profound information regarding human sexuality I've heard. And I've certainly studied the topic in an academic sense for, God, better than 25 years now at this point. And as usual, Aridif and Treb blow modern conventional thinkers out of the water when it comes to their philosophy and their understanding on. And that's what gets me. They have such a human understanding of human events that we humans ourselves don't have sometimes.
Well, they got to spend some nice time with my human brain, and hopefully I can see enough perspectives. I think that's why my mind has gone so neutral from channeling these beings for so long. I still am opinionated, don't get me wrong, but I used to be very, uni-thought. I would be like, this is how I see this. This is the only way it really can be. It's the only way it should be, blah, blah, blah. And the more channeling I've done, the more willingness and openness and acceptance I've had for views that were not my own. And I think that that's been a huge tool that they've used to be able to kind of see into other people's energies. And of course, when they're connecting with other beings, they're actually looking at their energy too. They're feeling their energy. They're feeling their experience. I usually tell people when we're doing group channelings that the way that the channeling itself works is when you ask a question for Treb or Aridif, they're looking at all the energies involved, your emotion, your mental, your aura field, all these different layers of energy. And that energy hits the higher self and goes out to the guides that are working with you on that subject, and goes out to the other person that you're connecting with, or the other experience you're connecting with, or whatever the external thing is that you're thinking and asking about. And all that energy connects there, and it's one big snapshot. And then they take that picture and then they take it into their own understanding and reflect back to you what they're getting from your higher self. So it is like talking to your higher self just from the perspective of Treb and Aridif and how they see it. So it's been fascinating. And I think that they've been able to use that more neutral mindedness of myself to really connect to how more people now feel. Treb, this is his first time around with humans, even though the Nihal were future humans. This version of humans he never connected with until like 30 years or 40 years ago, or maybe 30 years before I was born. I can't remember. But Ardif, he's been doing this for thousands of years with different timelines and different types of humans back in Egyptian times and Indian times and back in the South American native times. So he really has had a better scope of humans than Treb by a long shot, and a wider variety of kind of the feel of the day and the beliefs of the day and all of that for our history too. So it's human history is going to be fascinating with Trevor Ardif.
Yeah, I believe so. And, I think that we're definitely on the precipice of something different. The next evolution in humanity is going to be, it can only be through the mental frontiers. And you're seeing so much of that now with the younger generation, as annoying as they are. I have a 19-year-old daughter. As frustrating as they are and as simple-minded as they tend to be sometimes, they have things in their vocabulary that interest me. They're talking actively about Mandela effects and shifting realities, and astral projecting through lucid dreaming is a theme that I see them doing. They're much more mentally focused like that. If there's anything good to them being, maybe isolated away from their peers like they tend to be, is that maybe they're more introspective than any of us realize.
That's fair.
Yeah, who are we to know what's going on inside of their mind? It's their experience, so we have no way of knowing what's going on up there. And there's a great psychedelic wave that's coming back in, where in the 60s it was LSD, which was a very man-made chemical, although useful nonetheless. Now the big thing is DMT and mushrooms. And they...
Yeah.
Who knows what that's going to be? It's so readily accessible now, and it's just talked about so casually. I was playing a game of solitaire on a smartphone the other day, and I got an ad trying to solicit me for ketamine through the mail.
Yeah, I see that too for helping with depression. I did want to point out, I hate to break subjects, but we did see something in the chat that was worth mentioning, that Ian Kyle is here with us today, right now.
Oh, Ian is here. Actually, I have something from Ian. You and I had discussed this. This is quite fortunate because, again, this was not supposed to be a public event tonight, but it is. Ian is the astounding director. To me, he's just some guy that I met in middle school on the wrestling team. That is what Ian initially will always be to me. But now, 25 years later, he has matured into one of the most astounding directors and filmmakers that I know. And he's working on a couple things for me and Rob. I think this is a good time, since we are public, to talk about the Oniranaut for a minute, Rob. And then I'm going to show something else that Ian's been working on. So if you want to give me guys a minute, this is something that's in the works along with Rob's academic courses that he's been putting out. So just stand by for a second, everyone. You probably don't know what an Oniranaut is. You probably don't know what an Oniranaut is. But it's okay. You will. Your consciousness is not trapped in your head. It's free to travel anywhere, through time or in space. You just forgot how. The dream world is real too. And, if you get good enough, you can connect with other intelligent consciousness, other dreamers, or people who have since died. The people you meet might not even be people. Just ask Rob Gauthier. Rob enters a deep trance so that alien beings may borrow his body and use his voice to share their messages with us. That's why they call him the ET Whisperer. With Rob's help, along with the extraterrestrials that work with him, we will explore the unknown reality that surrounds us all. With enough practice, even you can become and Onira not. Okay, so there you go. That's a project that we have in the works. It has been in the works, but with world events and everything has been kind of shuffled around. The premise of that is that Ian and Rob and myself are all kids from the 1980s, and being that that's the case, we grew up with a certain type of TV show. People like Carl Sagan, Arthur C. Clarke, Unsolved Mysteries, who's the other one? Ripley's Believe It or Not. Stuff like that. Sightings was a big one. Leonard Nimoy's In Search Of. Am I missing any, Rob?
Yeah, I think Unsolved Mysteries and on the science fiction style, even Unsolved Mysteries went into that realm. They just didn't do it from that direct factual standpoint, but that was a bit ahead of the 80s too.
Right. So Ian and Rob and I all grew up on shows like that, and we wanted to do sort of an homage to that sort of thing. So we're going to take mysteries, and I don't want to disclose which ones, but basic mysteries that you hear about growing up in the world, and do a little bit of research on it, and get Treb or Aridif to get Rob to channel Treb and Aridif to discuss what this mystery might mean for the collective. See if we get to the bottom of it. Basically, unsolved mysteries with space aliens, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, and that's pretty much exactly the thought. Ian's amazing director. He's done a lot of great work, and I know William, while I'm getting ready to neutralize, will show you something that he is working on now. I saw in the comment section too, John Craig, a guy who's been helping me with the course, mentioned that in the course, Ardif actually talked about hallucinogenics and the differences between the natural mushrooms and peyote and the ones that grow in nature versus those that are chemically produced. They both can take you to that level, like a DMT can take you to that level. But the consciousness and the way it works is a lot different. Like with the natural ones, he said it's more like pouring water into a bucket and letting it fill, and you get that experience to the higher dimensional shifting. Where with the chemical, he said it's like pouring a hose and kinking it and just full blasting it into the bucket. It'll get there, but it's going to be messy, and it's not going to really be a consciousness shift as much as it is the experience of what the consciousness shift feels like. But the energy will be a little different too. So that's amazing. Yeah, it's this project too with the Oniro Knot is going to be something that I think a lot of people like. And like I said, next year is going to be a busy year, guys. So keep an eye out for all the things. I want to get back to tonight's subject with the world history. There's a lot of things Ardif and Treb have already shared. The Kung Ki, the first world inhabitants, were the first third density race that ever existed on Earth. Most people have never heard the name. The second were the Lumerians. Lumanians. And then there were the Lumerians, Atlanteans, Earth reptilians, and then humans. So there's these incarnation cycles. And right now, the Earth reptilian and human incarnation cycle are happening at the same time, with the exception of the Earth reptilian being a dimension higher than the human incarnation cycle. So I'm going to wonder how this is integrated, because there's a lot of history that they've shared, but it's, like Ardif said, it would take him hundreds of years to share an abridged version of the Earth history because of the amount of events that have happened. Ardif has talked about the Indo-Extra-Terrestrial Wars in India. They've talked about the Orion Wars before Earth was ever an incarnate place. Or Earth was around, I suppose, but it wasn't inhabited.
Right. It was in a different position in the solar system, even.
Yeah. So these histories that were spoken about are amazing. We're going to touch on more of those tonight. What stands out to you, brother, on history of the Earth, things that are interesting about Earth that you've always wondered?
Well, this is I'm being totally serious when I say this, although it might actually sound kind of funny, is that Think about everything going on around the planet just this moment in the next 2 seconds. Every human being out there, every person on the planet, what are they doing the next 2 seconds? And who is to say that some guy in a fish market in the Philippines hauling in a fish is doing anything less important than what some world leader's doing somewhere else? How do you encapsulate even these next 2 seconds, let alone the entire history of the planet? If you see what I'm saying, that's a kind of a lofty idea. But, so who
Yeah.
knows? Even I know, and this might be even a little metaphysical even for your show, Rob, but I know in my life, the biggest things that have happened have always been the result of very small decisions I've made. It's not usually the big momentous events in your life that really change your life. It's like little choices you make along the way. So, who's to say what was really important in world history?
Yeah, I think there's some validity to that. I think it's been a mixture of both in mine. Some things that seemed inconsequential were actually pretty big. I was fortunate enough to have a continuous dream state that bled over into one of my alternate lives. One decision I made as a 13-year-old boy was different than the one I actually made in this life. And I didn't realize I had this repetitive dream, and it wasn't the same dream. It was a continuation of a dream. So it's this whole storyline that I kept dreaming about, this alternate version of me. And finally, when I met Treb, I was like, what's going on with this? And he told me, the one choice you made incorrectly. You made a bad choice, whereas this life, you made a good choice. And it was back when I was in trouble and a lot of things, and it was breaking into a police station. And my friend was like, hey, the cops aren't there. There's nobody going to be there for hours. He lived right across the street. And I was like, nah, man, nah, we're not going to do that. That's dumb, And then, needless to say, the dream I kept visiting in the dream state, it would have been a horrific life had that happened. A series of events could have unraveled that would have ended up in the death of someone and me on the run for my whole life. So the small little things that I didn't think anything about, I was like, dude, that's a dumb idea. I never would have even considered it.
Right. I had something similar with that. It was I would occasionally look into this parallel life where after I'd gotten out of the Air Force, I was at Buckley Air Force Base in Aurora, Colorado at the time. And in this parallel life, I had decided to just stay in the Aurora, Colorado area. And that life went to hell. My wife and I were living in a shitty apartment. I mean, a really bad apartment in a bad part of town. I was poverty stricken, penniless, in fact, barely keeping it together. And I checked in on this couple for years, and it was not a good time. It was just life kicking them down one after the other. And eventually, it's been years now, the last time I checked in on them. And of course, this is always involuntary that it happens. Something had occurred in their lives where things were finally looking up. It was, but it was years of nothing but strife.
Yeah, the pain and suffering from little things, big things. I mean, kind of, but
of course, this reality wasn't a whole lot better. I was an alcoholic for a long time, and but I'm doing fine now. I assure you.
Yeah, well, this is the thing that's beautiful. I wanted to touch back too real quick on a subject I saw in the chat.
Sexchat69.site, is that the subject? New private dating chat. We're gonna have to block this person.
Yeah. Go ahead and ban them. Yeah, we get bots every time now. That's how you know you made it in the big streaming thing, when you get a sex bot chat every time. Naria Ward said, I'm curious to maybe small amounts or microdosing, but my gut says that for me, that would be cheating. I need to learn to meditate first. And I love that, because I had done hallucinogenics when I was 21, 22, well before I started my spiritual. I didn't start my spiritual path till I was in my no, that's not true. I was in almost 30-ish, maybe. So in that route, I experienced it, but I have never taken it since then. And the reason I didn't, when I did have the opportunity to many times, is because the meditations that I have that connect me with Treb actually feel more intensive and put me at a higher state than those did. I am curious though, and maybe one day when the timing's right and everything falls in alignment, I might do it again, just to see the compare of what it was like versus how my time with Treb is when I do my astral projections and connect with Treb and do channeling. But uh, I think if you learn to meditate and can get yourself to that level of consciousness without taking it, it will be a more fulfilling journey. But I think for some people who just really have resistance in their third eyes or their crown chakra or the throat or heart or whatever it is, people with trauma that is hard for them to resolve because of their psychology or beliefs or the environment that they're in, that it's a really, really amazing tool to do. And of course, a lot of people use those for combination to enhance meditation and to help with that too. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But if you choose to meditate instead, I think once you succeed, you'll feel more fulfilled with it. But like I said, I don't think either way is wrong. I just think it's a more fulfilling thing at the end of the day. So yeah, yeah.
Right. And I want to take the time to mention this now since we actually have a lot of people in here. If you're chatting with us live on YouTube, whether it be on a cell phone, laptop, desktop computer, make sure the chat box says live chat. If it says top chat, you are wrong. You are not wrong, but YouTube is censoring what we're saying here. So if you want to get the full, I just realized mine was on top chat, Rob, which is why, and so I wasn't seeing everything here. Like
I see.
Ewing Enterprises, please talk as much as possible about meditation and how to start. And you've been doing that. And also, I wanted to mention one of the ways you started was with the Monroe Institute.
Yes. Yeah, I found the Gateway Experience, and I know you've had a lot of experience with them, being that they're right around the corner from you, basically, their main place. Yeah, the Gateway Experience is the one that propelled my meditations from pretty good to friggin' phenomenal, like instantly. And thank you, Kalina, for killing off the porn bot. Appreciate it. Yeah, amazing, amazing stuff.
That's going to be a new anime, the ET Whisperer, featuring Kalina Angel, the bot slayer.
The porn bot destroyer.
Right, she's got a big sword like from Heavy Metal.
Yeah, me and Kalina were talking about the anime recently too, because we keep seeing that thing brought up, and Kalina never really resonated with it, but we found a couple that were very interesting that we find a theme, a lot of energies integrating with reptilian stuff, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. I think, guys, that I'm going to get ready to get neutralizing. It's getting close to 11 here. We got to wake up early with the kids, and we're going to be doing this again tomorrow, Patreon, same time frame between 9 and 10 o'clock p.m., and we'll give you a heads up an hour or two ahead. So if you're a part of Patreon, keep an eye out for your questions. Make sure you got your questions in. If you're not a part of Patreon, obviously you can join anytime you want with full access for the 4.5, almost 5 years we've been doing this. Every month, 2 channelings minimum per month, and you can put in your question before tomorrow at 9. That's when the questions get shut off. But I'm gonna go neutralize, brother. You ready for the halftime?
Yep, the onslaught of halftime. Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you, brother, for doing this. Thank you all for here in the chat. Thank you, Kalina, for protecting our chat people, and thank you, John, too, for everything you've been doing on the coursework. Any of you guys who are interested in the course, we'll drop a link down in the chat, and we'll tag it to the pinned comment. Even though the last part of the 8 parts is coming out probably Monday or Tuesday, the course is pretty much finished. The questions have already been asked, but some of the most amazing content that I've heard from Aridif in a long, long, long time. Things where I feel I don't first of all, I don't listen to all my channeling, so that's one thing. But when I do, I don't always learn a ton of new things because I've been around it for so long. I've heard a lot of people's questions and they're similar. But with this course, I learned a ton of things I had no idea about. So it really was great. And all of you guys who are doing that too, when you sign into Podia next and you're going through the course, feel free to leave a comment in there sharing with us what you thought about the course and how you felt about it and things like that, because we're really interested in hearing that feedback too, as we're going to be starting up the next course very soon. So I love you guys. Thank you, brother, for being here and helping us with the Patreon as you do, and appreciate giving your time, energy, and love to it. And thank you all for being here tonight, too. We're glad we got to see all the extra faces and names and chats. Thank you, guys. Love you guys.
Well, thank you, Rob. And yes, Rob
Thank you, brother. Love you.
Love you, too. Oh, Rob loves me. No, this is great. This is a really good gig. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of new people here tonight. I only do this twice a month. I used to have my own YouTube channel back in the day, but after the great YouTube purge, I did not make the cut for reasons, and so here we are. So now I host Rob's show twice a month, and it's good. It keeps me active. It satiates the lust that I have for being a radio broadcaster. Let's see, Kim. All right. Oh yes, and I put in what do you call it? This was for you, Ewing Enterprise. The link that I dropped, and I'm going to drop it one more time, is for a free Robert Monroe course. It's called The Way of Hemisync. It's available on YouTube. You must wear stereo headphones, and ideally high-end stereo headphones, like true stereo headphones, where you only hear one thing, you only hear what you're supposed to in the left ear and the right ear. Don't skimp on this. Trust me on this one. If you want the Hemisync experience, and it's already going to be slightly degraded because of the digital experience on YouTube, everything's compressed. There is no substitute for going to the actual institute. Who was it? I think Wendy said that she had gone to the Monroe Institute. Actually, Colleen is talking about that right now. Wendy, I have always wanted to take live Monroe Institute courses. I've heard great things. We went there. Thank you, Kim. We went there for the very last free one they did. They used to do this free Saturday every month. I can't believe that they would do this, but you would go there, you take up the whole day, you meet down in the conference room. It was catered deliciously. They have their own little kitchen on site, and you get to try different types of, it's like a Monroe appetizer, basically. You get to try different courses. And one of them was this really cool one where they infused your mind. Obviously, this is all done through imagination, guys, so I don't want you to get the wrong idea. They infused your mind with these little nano dolphins, little miniature tiny dolphins that traveled around your bloodstream and chakra systems and everything. Quite nice experience. Yes, you can. There is no substitute for that. Believe me, you're not going to get that anywhere else. One of the things I wanted to do, because I don't know if Ian is still with us or not, before I get too far afield. Ian is a director. He's working on the Onironaut with us. I showed you guys that trailer a little while ago. And there is something else that he had just put out. He also did a horror film called Friends Forever. I'm going to drop a link for that. And this is just basically to support Ian, for those of you that enjoy horror, essentially. And I do, being a child of the 80s. I'm going to show you guys a clip of this right now. So stand by, guys. So there you go, guys. Just a short segment from Ian's new film, Friends Forever. Again, I'm going to drop the link for that. It's only available on his YouTube channel, Indie Film Producer. Just go there now and subscribe if you want to help Ian out. Tell them that you saw it here on the ET Whisperer show. And I'm also going to put it in the comments if you're watching later on. So, yes. All right. Well, now, for those of you that are just joining us for the now, Rob is out neutralizing. This is the time I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to take now to go get a cup of coffee. You're welcome, Ian. You're welcome. I'm going to take now to go get a cup of coffee. And what do? We're going to play... this one more time. You probably don't know what an Onironaut is, but it's okay. You will. Your consciousness is not trapped in your head. It's free to travel anywhere, through time or in space. You just forgot how. The dream world is real too. And, if you get good enough, you can connect with other intelligent consciousness, other dreamers, or people who have since died. The people you meet might not even be people. Just ask Rob Gauthier. Rob enters a deep trance so that alien beings may borrow his body and use his voice to share their messages with us. That's why they call him the ET Whisperer. With Rob's help, along with the extraterrestrials that work with him, we will explore the unknown reality that surrounds us all. With enough practice, even you can become an Onironaut. Welcome, Kara. Let's see, we started 43 minutes and 53 seconds ago, actually. And it's been a weird night. It's been nothing but technical problems. I committed the cardinal sin of internet broadcasting tonight. Before we went on the air, I had plenty of time. And this is why you don't do these things, even if you do have plenty of time. And I noticed my streaming software needed to be updated. It was horribly out of date. So I'm like, oh, I can deal with this. So I updated it, ruined it, totally ruined it. None of my presets are working properly. Everything that should be running smoothly is working smoothly. This was initially supposed to be, let me give you guys a backstory if you're just joining us. This was originally supposed to be a private event for the people who support Rob on Patreon, which we have a grand old time doing twice a month. You can get in at patreon.com/ET Whisperer if you wanted to support him. And what you get for that is twice a month we get together. Tonight is the monthly poll topic. And what happens is everybody that's involved in Patreon submits a topic that they would like to be channeled about. They all get put together. We vote on them. Whoever wins the poll, Rob will channel a being that will then talk about that particular topic. Then, another night each month, we have question and answer night, where if you support Rob on Patreon, you get to ask a specific question to the entity of your choice, and it goes in a big hat. I literally have these printed out on paper 99% of the time, pulling them out of a hat, providing that there's enough time for show prep. And if your question gets pulled, we ask it to the being of your choice, and then you get the answer you're looking for. So it's not a bad deal. It's a really good time. And we were in the process of doing just that tonight when, as it turns out, nobody seemed to be in the chat room at all. It was just me and Rob and Kalina and who was it that turned out was lurking the whole time? Somebody. So I'm like, well, let's just make it public and see what happens. And so that's why you are hearing the sound of my voice tonight. All right, I'm seeing... All right, there are all kinds of links that are coming out in the chat room right now, in the live chat. So these are all very important. I see Metatron Center has posted one for the sexuality course that Rob is giving out. I believe channeled with Aridif exclusively. Let's see. We have links from Ian. I'm going to post this one more time. Ian has put out his new horror movie, Friends Forever. It's a horror short available only on YouTube. He is the in-house director. And what else? Am I missing anything else, Kalina? Kim, thank you, Omnicron Collective. Carrot V. It's William. Okay, I guess you guys know me from my previous channel from years ago, which I can't believe was years ago at this point. You can still find me. Oh, Kalina, I was just wondering if we're caught up on everything. Have we given everybody the shout-outs and kudos and links that we need? We've got Rob's sexuality course. We've got Ian's film. Let's see. Saley says, I agree. Monroe has been amazing regarding my development. Yeah, that was basically it, Kalina. If we're caught up on everything, if we've gotten everybody their links out. And Rob should be back from neutralizing. Okay, Kara does not know me, but does know my voice for some reason. I do a lot of voice work, but like obscure. Oh yeah, I was on Rob's show one time on the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. That is that's something Kalina's reminding me about right now. Is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. That's something that Rob does every Wednesday publicly that you guys can tune into. Is there anybody in the audience tonight who is hearing about the ET Whisperer for the first time? That's something I'm curious to know. Are you here right now for the first time and you have no idea what you're going to expect? It's like we went to go see Spangel at Red Rocks Amphitheater in 2019. For those of you who don't know, it's a crime that you don't know. But Spangel is the most far out there psychedelic band you could ever possibly imagine. It's SHPONGLE. Listen to them after the show tonight. And it's basically the mecca of everybody in the psychedelic world. Anyone who's anyone in the psychedelic world is at this event. And we had trekked through like 9 states to get there. And there's some people sitting in front of us. The only reason they were there at all is because they had season tickets to Red Rocks Amphitheater, and they had no idea what they were about to get into. So I'm wondering if that's the case tonight, if there's anybody in the audience that has absolutely no idea what's about to happen. So, but anyway, also I do some voice work, Kara. I don't know. Actually, sometimes a lot of boring stuff, like safety videos for trucking companies. Thanks for that one, Ian, by the way, if you're still in it. Ian sends me these scripts sometimes. I have no idea sometimes I think he's just screwing with me. I'm like, you want me to read this? You know, I did this one for a trucking company where it's like, be sure to bend at the knees when positioning all boxes before palletizing. It's just the most dry stuff you could ever possibly imagine. Whatever, it's a paycheck. I am not from the Boston area. I am from North Amityville, Long Island. All right, so let's see. I'm a little upset with myself. Let me set the scene for you. I'm in my private studio in Fincastle, Virginia. Nice little place, very cozy. I was totally ready for everything. I've got all my canteens full of water over here. Coffee pot was cleaned out, sparkling. I got like 9 gallons of water, super premium alkaline water just hanging out. I've got food, changed to the comfortable pants, totally ready. And I realized I forgot to actually bring the coffee grinds. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. It doesn't matter. I've got some Cafe Bustelo instant coffee. So I just took the coffee pot and I put like this coffee powder in it, like a lot. And then I just turned the coffee pot on to just get the hot water in there. You know, swish the coffee pot around a little bit. So I got coffee, but it's not quite right. I mean, I'm cranked because it's Cafe Bustelo, but the taste is a little off. It's just not what I was going for. Right, Kalina, it's a real tragedy. It's a real tragedy. So, anyways, I hope some of you guys will support the ET Whisperer on Patreon if you want to hear my confusing northern accent. Pomegranate juice. Oh, I'm so glad you said that, Kara. I have pineapple juice in the refrigerator, like the good ones too, the little cans of Dole, the mini ones. I'm going to get some of those as soon as Rob comes back to take over talking to you guys. I'm going to hop up and take my break. Black tea. I know. I mean, the only thing saving grace, because we used to get instant coffee when I was in the Air Force, when we were out in the field, and it was passable, but not really. Like, the only thing about this is that it's Cafe Bustelo, you know, which even that bothers me, because I was drinking it back in the day. You could only get it in these bodegas in bad neighborhoods, and now, of course, all the hipsters are drinking it, and you can get it in K-cups. It's just, you know, they take things that you love and ruin it. That's progress, I guess. I wonder why pineapple flavor reminds me so much of Venus. Well, I would imagine you have some sort of synesthesia, early childhood memory of that. That's this thing. A lot of great composers had synesthesia. I learned this from Paul Harvey, I don't know, many years ago. These are the things where you can actually taste colors and hear colors. And a lot of early composers were thought to have been afflicted with this.
There was a famous author who wrote about the Madeline cookie and did so from childhood memory, from his mother's Madeline cookies. And when he would eat it, it would bring him back to the childhood. And he wrote this poem or short story about it. And it became quite in depth a part of that synesthesia that really he reminisced of the smell brought him to his childhood, the taste brought him to his childhood, and thinking about his childhood would bring the taste and smell to him. Made a quite famous thing. He was an author, I believe, in the 1600s, maybe. I can't remember who it was or what the story was. That's the first time I heard about it. So I wanted to also answer a question. Is there anyone here who has not heard of the ET Whisperer? I don't think that's the case for whatever reason, despite my weekly Enlightenment Evolution Hour updates. The YouTube gods have not granted me into their algorithmic favor. Even, you know, with all the people we have subscribed, it's not getting to a lot of people who were subscribed a long time ago because they put in the new function for ringing the all notification bell. Mm-hmm. So, you know, 10 to 12,000 people who are subscribed to me don't even know that I'm back, that I'm making regular uploads again. So it's one of those things. YouTube's
right.
Not been a fortunate place in that way.
And I haven't uploaded a video. I think the last video I uploaded was a selfie of me at a roller skating disco, you know, months ago, and then suddenly I have an extra 400 subscribers out of nowhere. It makes no sense.
Yeah, Kalina, same way. She's uploaded 2 videos, and she keeps getting the views and subscribers pouring in, which is really amazing because it deserves those clicks and likes and subscribes. But for those of you who don't know too, if you go to Kalina Angel and type in Kalina Angel, she's got 2 videos on her channel that are amazing. So if you haven't seen them, go check those out.
Yes, indeed. And so, let's see. I don't want to get too far afield. We're having a pretty good discussion actually tonight, and hopefully some of these people will be joining us when we do our monthly Patreon shows. I'm going to repeat what we're talking about tonight. It is a suggestion from Max. Max says tonight's topic, that one, an overview of complete human history. I would like to hear an overview of human history, starting with the first Anunnaki intervention, highlighting the most important events and timelines in whatever manner Aridif wants to present it.
Yeah, and we'll do that with the assistance of your Boston accent, and we'll go from there. I love that Boston accent. That's Long Island, right? Pretty close, right?
Yes, kind of close, a stone's throw away. Well, also I have to do one more shameless plug here because Kara loves the art. This painting that you're seeing was done by none other than Ms. Carolina Chapman. And, of course,
she's an amazing artist.
Yes, as you can see here. I will say that there's nothing quite like it. You see Treb is emerging from Rob's head. And then on a tin can telephone is talking to Aridif, who's in his spacecraft in the back, which is suspiciously like something he took from George Jetson. You still there, Rob? We've lost Rob.
No, I'm still here. It's it's for whatever reason when I flip over to the screen to type in the chat, the Skype overlay isn't working anymore. When was that, Adam Twister? I'd like to know that. Is that something that happened a long time ago, like when their first channel got taken down, or is this a recent one? Because that's an interesting question. I know why the first one happened.
For the record, the Bisharp Communications channel got shut down for deceptive content. This is what can happen if you rush things, so great patience must be had. And when it is time for this stuff to physically reach people, it will. I just wanted to read it, Rob, for the record, in case this video survives without the chat room one day.
Yeah, the reason I think it first got shut down is the copyright strikes. If you attempt to place a copyright strike on someone who is using your content but within fair use, you can get a strike on your account. And I believe that whoever was heading the HR department of Bashar Communications, which was definitely not Daryl Anka, it was whoever was running that specific part, continued to put out strikes, and maybe it hit a few of those. That's my best guess. But I don't know what the deceptive content would be. Yeah, at least that's the first time it got shut down. Unless it got shut down again, I'm not sure. But either way, Daryl's a good friend of mine, a good guy. And I'm not going to talk about stuff I don't know about with him, because that's not very nice. So right. I'm going to shut up and get going. The first one. Oh, okay. Okay. I see. All right.
Well, we'll be monitoring that closely, I imagine.
Yeah, well, this is the problem with YouTube. They can shut anyone down at any time for any reason, and that's why I'm backed up on Odyssey. Mm-hmm. If anything ever does happen to this channel, Odyssey is the place to go. Oh, how do you spell it? Odyssey.
Odyssee.
Yeah, yes, and it's the same name, the ET Whisperer, Rob Gauthier. So if you guys don't have an account there, go there, and if something ever happens to this channel, that's where I'll be uploading. And we are going to be doing some exclusives. William and I have talked about the circumcision, sexual trauma part. I imagine John would be willing to help jump in on a conversation about that too, as he helped narrate the course for that. We can do a few of them, or we can get one with a bunch of people. We'll figure it out as we go. But the energy behind sexuality is definitely one of them that's going there. But I want to put more there too, because I want more people to be able to access the alt tech platforms. Something free speech is always something I've been passionate about, but uh, with the way things work, you put something on an alternate platform and you don't send anyone over there to see it, they're not going to see it anyway. So I think people definitely should check that out. Me and Kalina knew a lady, Kelly Coffee, really, really great lady. She had 100,000+ subscribers and lost them overnight with no notice, no strikes, no notifications. And we think it was something about the census, the U.S. Census.
Right.
I'm not even kidding.
I know you're not. I remember when that happened. That happened.
So it's yeah. So let's definitely not go too far into that either. But it's just really frustrating that you can't say the things you might want to say in fear.
Right.
That they'll eliminate your access to the people who prefer to come and connect to your thing. I started this channeling so that if one person could hear it and it shifted their life, that it would be worth all the hours and time I put in. And it's just become much more than that now. And I feel like without me sharing it in a place where people can access it, that it's not gonna do. I know eventually everyone will find what they need when they need it, but the more you make it accessible, the more opportunity people will have to see it and to work with it and to be healed, to be helped. I'm trying not to go too far out of neutral, but my perspective is even someone who comes on my channel and laughs and goes, "This guy's a friggin' lunatic," I did something for that person. I gave them something. A moment of laughter, a moment to evaluate their beliefs, whatever it is. And I think all of it's equally value. At least by me it is. So, all right, I'm going to take another drink of water. Give me 10 more seconds and we'll jump in, guys.
Okay. All right, guys. And once again, tonight you are having a glimpse on our Patreon monthly poll. Tonight's question is going to be an overview of complete human history. Is spoken by Aridif, is who I'm guessing will probably deliver this message. Kara says, has anyone here experienced their crown chakra vibrating without intentionally trying? Mine has been extremely active. I've been experiencing a lot more psychic activity. That's something we don't have time to go into now because I'm sure Rob will be back any second. But I think that as we were talking about earlier, we alluded to, the next evolution is really in the mind. And I think if you happen to be open enough and aware enough, you're going to experience a lot more unusual things.
And thank you, Spiky, in the chat. We appreciate the heads up, and that was an intentional thing for it to be public. Tonight, the magic of life happened, and it's public. So thank you, and Spiky is the most amazing admin in our Discord server that has ever survived and ever lived and ever will live. Thank you, brother, for keeping everything held up over there. And actually, if you're not a part of that, you should probably go there and check it out, because we're going to be doing an exclusive one probably next weekend just for Discord, for people over there. It will be played publicly, but the Discord people get the chance to ask the questions. So if you're not there, join in. Might be something worth doing. All right, brother, you ready?
I don't know. Spiky sounds like a snitch to me. You know how I feel like.
No, Spiky's good.
I'm just kidding.
He's the anti-snitch.
All right.
Oh, 90s kids, man.
All right. Yes, let's bring it back.
I love you guys very much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you guys for participating. Love you. Omni Collective. I did not know that. Yeah, that sucks. I love you guys. I will be back when we're done. Have fun. Enjoy your questions, Patreon folk. Thank you, brother, for being here. Thank you all for adding in the chat, and thank you guys for moderating chat too. Kalina, Spiky, and John, thank you guys for holding that down. Love you guys. We'll see you on the other side. Here we go. Greetings to all, this is Aridif, that is L-I-D-I-F, and this is its field. We understand that we have a query relating human collective consciousness, history that is embedded within that collective consciousness, and the energy that is surrounding the entirety of the Earth collective format of consciousness. But before diving into these queries, the two things that we wish to express, the first, above and beyond all things that are expressed within this day, to know, feel, and to perceive that you are loved in our perspective is of the utmost importance. Secondly, it is our greatest excitement and within that same great excitement in which we co-create with you, not only in this moment, but through all moments of your linear time perspective. So, of course, first, diving into the human Earth collective consciousness and the history that is embedded within that collective format of consciousness. First, where did human beings start? Now, of course, to that human perspective, this will greatly depend upon what you perceive as a human collective consciousness, the energy that existed to create physicality of the souls existed at the spawn of the universe itself. At the time of creation of the universe's physical attributes, the consciousness existed much longer than that universal collective. In fact, all consciousness that created the entire universal collective that we are within has been omnipresent, has been omniforce, and connected to the construct of consciousness for eternity. There's no time limits within that construct. The fractalization that created the universe itself in a physical sense is an entirely separate form of energy. But the consciousness behind has been through limitless amounts universal conscious co-creations, and after the end of one cycle of being universe, as humans would perceive through linear time frame, from the birth of a universe to the death of that universe, these cycles have been endless, with the incarnation of the universal collective form without physical form altogether. And of course, in this universal collective consciousness, galaxy in which we inhabit with you is not an original galaxy from the birth of this universe. There have been multiple galactic collective conscious cycles that were within the incarnation of an entire form of galaxy. Smaller galaxies had merged. Galaxies have been broken apart. And what we create in this moment is a new permanent form of galaxy from the human linear time perspective, of course, measuring the entire structure in billions of years would not allow most humans to understand the frame reference of time. Now, what most humans can perceive, factoid in fact that we have summoned through Rob's own perspective. If you utilize the construct of 1 million, this is a construct that humans are able to perceive well. Imagine yourself counting to 1 million per second. How many seconds would it create for there to be 1 million years? That is 11 days of your time. Now, count to 1 billion with integrate seconds, and that will take you 32 years. So from 11 days to 32 years is a difference from 1 million, which most of you can barely perceive, to 1 billion, and numbers that are outside of the trillions, quadrillions, and multiple hundreds of billions framed with squares and multiple incarnates of that energy are far beyond the reach of the human mind to perceive the radical forms of numbers in which times have been created, universes in which experience of years had gone by before this galaxy existed, and the planet itself, very new and fresh entity amongst the galaxy that exists in this time. So let us start with Earth. Earth has been incarnated, as Rob has expressed, through multitudes of incarnation cycles before humans alone. But what is the beginning of human? Humans once were second density entities that created a form of consciousness through the non-physical layers that created an existent animal form. But before this, these entities were bacterial and viral forms, and before this, first density building blocks of creation, that which you see as non-living. Adding all of your consciousness and all of the constructs of evolution, imagine yourself within the construct of the past form of Bigfoot in your mind, Sasquatch entities. These were the ancestors that the Anunnaki first met in the iteration of your DNA change. Once the Anunnaki found Earth and found a species that was worth manipulating the forms of DNA, then you became that form of new human. And this human's DNA was changed through several iterations, perceiving the consciousness that of the Anunnaki alone. There were multiple iterations of times in which they came, inhabiting the Earth for 1 million years, 2.4 millions of years, back to hundreds of thousands of years through multiple layers of iterations, and while they are upon Earth changing the DNA of the human consciousness at their whim, at their leisure, for the design that they desired to create. And of course, after they left the second iteration, before coming back into the third, then the Elohim comes to Earth, sees this changed human, and expresses, I desire to add upon that change. The Elohim understood who the Anunnaki were, understood their capacity to shift and change DNA. Now, of course, after this, there were several Pleiadian races that came to Earth, and that which was fifth density humanoid form shifted and changed the DNA again. 7 different times in massive form changes. Now, of course, each of these 7 can be broken further into multiple hundreds, if not thousands of tweaks and thousands of iterations of change. But 7 major components of the DNA shifted, and from that 7 different iterations came 12 forms of DNA. Of course, as you perceive this construct, 5 of the 7 were hybridized beings themselves, such as that of the Anunnaki, who were not reptilian, who were not humanoid, but were Pleiadian and reptilian mixture. And of course, giving their own DNA gave portions of draconian DNA and portions of the feminine Pleiadian humanoid race. 1 iteration created 2 forms of DNA that was given to the human collective consciousness. Other beings that came in, such as that of the Sirian and Pleiadian hybridized consciousness, were able to co-create with humans, to teach humans, and certain portions of their own DNA were to tweak that of either the Sirian or Pleiadian both. All of the races that you have understood and heard have a high probability of being a race that worked with human components of genetics and shifted and altered that DNA as well. Now, through the course of history, being expressed as to speak to the construct of this alone and compress your said history into a 40 to 60-minute iteration, as you understand, is nearly impossible, as simply the consciousness behind what humans are simply for the last 100 years could never be compressed within a 10-hour time frame. And what has been experienced in the last 1,000 years could never be expressed within 100-year frame. So many moving components of the human consciousness do to the population of humans and to the energetic spectrum of humans. Now, if we were to share with you, race, that emotional and mental spectrum were 1/100th of a human being, we could share that energy in a much quicker fashion, as it does not deviate from moment to moment, year to year, decade to decade, so violently and so drastically, as it were. But that experience of the large spectrum comes, the large portions and areas in which we must choose to come from. So, of course, after the iteration of your fourth iteration, and at that time, holding 3 of the 50% hybrids, meaning 6 forms of DNA and 1 that was, for lack of better terms, the pure form of DNA, was given to humans. This is where a great deal of entities started fluxing their own traffic of consciousness in to create with human collective form. You see much of what humans once were. In your ancient text, your biblical text speaks of humans that live 700 to 900 years on a regular basis. Was this miscategorization? Was this a mistranslation? No. Although there are many of these terms that are misinterpreted, mistranslated, misrepresented intentionally, the years and times in which these entities existed were in fact measured within multiple hundreds and in some cases thousands of years. One moment as we hydrate and continue. So now, as you understand, the human collective at this iteration, with 7 forms of DNA within their cells, and that energy, 5th iteration, comes an experience of these entities integrating into the Earth collective. Why did this occur? Just as in your moment now, where humans do not have open contact, this is due to the resistance of the human collective in whole. Most human entities would be too fearful of co-creating in that way for Type 1 beings to come into your planet, meaning that the only beings that are left to enter the atmosphere of the human collective consciousness is that of Type 2, who do not care about infringing upon your free will. And as some of you are able to imagine, this does not always bring the best characteristics of consciousness embedded into entities into your own co-creative sphere. It in fact brings entities who would suppress the amount of your free will if possible. And because the human collective is fearful of that co-creation, you do not have entities walking on your planets co-creating directly in a physical form with your human collective. But in this time, The door was wide open for many entities of Type 1 and Type 2 varieties to visit and co-create, because humans saw these entities as their gods, as their teachers, as the entities who would bring them knowledge from the sky. And it was widely accepted and understood that this is a common occurrence. So in this time, humans worked with multiple dozens of different forms of races. And we understand we had shared some form of your history where the Mahabharata was written, and all of the Hindu forms of text and some forms of Buddhist text which describe the consciousness of physical entities that were working with humans directly, some that were manipulating for praise of humans, others that would share the gifts of knowledge and power, technology, etc. And in this time, wars were had between the extraterrestrial races. Now, of course, this created a great form of resistance amongst humans and a great deal of resistance in that in which they co-created with. One of the major components of this co-creation was that the draconian consciousness was not near Earth at that time. They still held a great deal of co-creation with the higher layers of that of the Earth reptilian consciousness, but did not integrate deeply or care much for the human co-creator collective. Their own family, one that their genetic coding was gifted to that of the Earth reptilians, they were fine. They were not being harmed in that way. Their technology kept them alive and thriving despite the wars above the surface. And of course, they did not come back into that Earth expression. So left to their own devices, the reptilian beings upon Earth rarely intervened or co-created with humans at that time. But of course, the other races went to war, causing great devastation and death upon the human collective consciousness. Cities were sunk into the ocean. Cities were evaporated through technology. And of course, the wars took lives of those that were extraterrestrial from your perspective. Now, in that time frame, there was a great deal of devastation that did occur to the surface of the Earth, and many of the races that were fighting with one another came to a conclusion that it was best not to involve humans, otherwise you could erase the population. There was a loose agreement, and many left, but many did not leave at that moment. The ones who stayed were those who would form manipulation over these newer creatures that were long-living and intelligent, but not intelligent enough to perceive the manipulation that they were receiving. At this time, a race of beings that were known as the Totini came into the Earth collective consciousness with partners that they had worked with, insectoid consciousness. And these forms of insectoids started war with the reptilians upon Earth. The Earth reptilians were coming to the surface regularly, in some ways working with humans on the faction of that which was, as all Earth is, a spectrum, positive versus negative, as humans would perceive all that which are benevolent and those more malevolent, and benevolent Earth reptilians worked to help humans, and malevolent either did not care or would utilize same forms of suppression. The insectoid race came to the Earth, started perceiving these reptilians, and went into the ground and started killing many of them. With that death came back the draconian consciousness to defend their children, and destroyed all of the races that were left upon Earth, keeping only alive the human consciousness and that of the Earth reptilian beings, and at that moment placed a finite version of a no zone. This means that no entities were allowed to come to Earth without either their permission or without their suggestion in that way. And at this time, the great suppression of human contact for the majority was over on a larger scale. Now, of course, draconian consciousness did not care greatly for human beings, but did in fact perceive that humans held components of their own DNA through that which was taken and stolen by that of another race that gave that draconian DNA to the Anunnaki. This was one portion that was integrated, and then a portion from the reptilian Earth consciousness, which was another portion of draconian. They looked at these humanoids with great pity and said, although these are not our family and are not, perhaps as you would see, worthy of our DNA, they do in fact hold some form of our DNA, and we will let them be to their own devices, knowing that they had already taught their children, as they perceived in their own eyes, the Earth reptilians, the ability to manipulate any human that they desired if need be. So, of course, the Draconians creating a quarantine for the Earth began, and races were able to come and go from Earth with permission, or those that would sneak in. And thus those that desired to work with humans started opening the telepathic forms of communication with humans. The Syrian entities, the Arcturian entities, the Pleiadian entities, and even those that are the Andromedan entities started working with their telepathy and working with those more advanced forms of humans. This created a cycle which was open. Many entities were already taught psychic development, but changes in their DNA brought them away from that psychic energy, and more so to the mental bodies and the more reptilian-esque forms of their DNA mental body. And with a humanoid physical archetype and many humanoid energies inside of their DNA, of course, the body would not be able to work with telepathy as a native reptilian archetype physical body would. The mental body of the reptilian consciousness itself is very capable of telepathy, but in a human body would not work as well. So the humanoids had to work on finding their telepathy abilities through their humanoid counterparts who were able to focus their telepathy upon Earth, and some races physically did occur and shared this information with humans directly. How to work with their telepathy. Many of you see this in the archives of your Mayan ancestors, and see this in the archives of your Native American ancestors, even those that came from insectoid ant races worked with humanoids and Earth reptilians alike. One moment, we'll hydrate and continue. Now, skipping through several tens of thousands of years in your history, we go to the more modern portions of your Earth history. We go into the form of approximately 800 BC, into the time frame of 300 BC. There were entities that were still working on more silent levels with larger collectives of humans, those that were the Greek, those that were the Indian race, and those that were Chinese in that way, integrated more so with beings that brought in stealth versions of information and communication, and were able to bolster their version and areas of humans into a higher-minded, higher technological form. This is where you saw races that worked with the gods of the Greeks, Zeus, and all of these entities that were underneath the entity that was Zeus were in fact extra-dimensional and extraterrestrial beings working either in telepathic or physical forms, teaching the Greeks onto the year approximately 300 BC region. This is where the energy shifted towards the Alexander the Great construct. And of course, Alexander took their armies out into the world and conquered, bringing the unified form in their own perspective of bringing great knowledge and technology to the world and unifying as one human race. But of course, the other races that worked with Persians, the other races that worked with Indians, although India being a large area had several different factions of races working. That is why it was a more divided country, with many forms of kings in small territories rather than that in the European region, where the land was more compressed and larger scales of land were held by one ruler, and brought the silver shields, which were the ships of technology, into the wars. And when they came to India, they had met multiple races that were more technologically advanced than those of the Greeks' extraterrestrial counterparts. That is why they could not advance beyond the Ganges. And you see this repeating in history as Christopher Columbus crossed the ocean and saw ships hovering over water, the lights that were over area in the direction of land. This was the race of their gods, showing them where the next area of conquest was. Still, at a degree, entities found a way to fight their personal wars with other extraterrestrial races through the human means, by proxy utilizing humans for the army that would fight the war. If thousands of ships were to descend upon Earth, the Draconians would be alerted immediately and destroy all of these entities, as the Draconians were now the protectors of humans in a roundabout way. Now, of course, the entities that battled all found purpose, all found forms of specific iterations and manipulations, but humans' desires internally, humans' thoughts about the history in which they had gone through, thoughts and belief systems about the history that they read, formed the opinion and energy calls towards whether or not they should desire the gods to come back. And of course, with a history as violent as humans, with the manipulation that was formed with that humans, many humans said no to the gods, no to the multiple gods that would rain war physically upon Earth, and many in those that took on the monotheistic form of one God from Jerusalem and the one God through Christianity saw this as an opportunity to have one protector for the realm. And with that mindset, religious ideology that was behind that mindset held a great deal of humans back from desiring any form of God but their own. And with the multi-god system of paganism and Hinduism brought about many entities despising the other gods, as reading inaccurate forms of text of their history, perceiving that many of their own internal gods were at war with one another, and albeit many were, not all. And these divisionary lines of the way that gods were perceived started becoming a telltale sign only for acceptance of one or one small faction of gods, leaving out the desire to perceive any other gods before them. Now, of course, as all of you understand, these were not gods. These were simply entities who existed at higher consciousness levels in integrative form, who existed at higher levels of experience and higher levels of technology. And they appeared as gods. And your human form today, many of the races that work in higher dimensional format and bring down their consciousness into your own vibrational and dimensional level would appear to gods as you now. The indistinguishment between that form of technology and that which is divine intervention is blurred quite easily with your predisposal of praising entities and being prodigious constructs. So, of course, we have covered nearly 1 infinitesimal spectrum of 1,000th of a percentage of one fraction of your history, but we'll take queries at your leisure.
All right, thank you, Aridif. Yes, that certainly leaves quite a lot to be asked, I'm certain. One of the things that comes up is that earlier in your channeling, you had mentioned that there are current belief systems in place that the collective has now that prevents these beings from essentially walking among us. But certainly their interest and participation in our reality hasn't waned at all. How are they interacting now? Are they working through human beings entirely, or are there other ways that they do this?
Yes, of course, the ways that entities work with the human collective consciousness now varies as much as the consciousness of the human collective itself. You understand the dividing lines that you call countries, and within those countries, the territory states, each of these having their own perspective about the world, about life, about certain gods, etc. So in that way, human beings are working in telepathic forms. Some humans are working in physical forms. Those humans who work with the more malevolent forms of those that are Earth reptilians, or those that work as a draconian consciousness and telepathic forms, may have more direct experiences in a physical sense in one form or another. Yet you have the grey entities who work in hybridization, and the many other races who work in hybridization, some with authorization from that of draconian consciousness, others that are sneaking in at times in which they are able. But either of these expressions are conditional to the entities themselves that are co-creating and the greater experience. And of course, hybridization upon one level is experienced through higher dimensionality itself. There are very rare components of hybridization that occurs with the physical form of human body, although it can spill over in that way.
Okay, so basically different races and different subsets of entities have their own purposes for being involved. What is really preventing any one of these races from, shall we say, pulling the curtain back? Because presumably once human beings as a collective become aware of the existence of extraterrestrials in some form or another, the game is kind of up in a sense. Isn't that right?
Yes, of course. Now, in the interest of those that are draconian in consciousness, the interest of those that are more malevolent variety of entities, there are many reasons why they would not create an allowance of entities to exist within that co-creative sphere. But the human collective ultimately decides that way. If all humans desire to shift into a reality where they desire to open contact and free-flowing experiences, then of course they would not be blocked from having that experience fully, and the entities that work with humans would be able to co-create much quicker. Now, some races, such as ourselves, would never come into the Earth collective consciousness physically unless there was an absolute acceptance for the desire to co-create, and many of those that are type 1 are in the similar veins, yet those that are highly benevolent and type 2 entities would work with humans if they were allowed to work with humans from the draconian construct. Or if enough humans were to open their consciousness for that, it would give the opportunity for this race to bypass that energy of the draconian consciousness. What ties human consciousness to draconian consciousness is the energy of fear itself and the energy of fearing control itself.
All right, so when you say the human collective would have to decide, presumably this would be done unconsciously or subconsciously in the dream state. Presumably, from what you've taught us in the past, this is where the human collective comes to sort of decide the direction that it's going, is in this dream framework. Is that correct?
Yes, of course, in the astral state and dream state, but even through the conscious awareness of Earth itself, although most humans would not allow themselves to go into those areas of energy, then of course the dream and astral projected states would be the most dominant places to work out the resistances and beliefs. But if the human collective consciousness utilized a tool, whether it be the 10-step belief system process or whether it be a self-designed and designated tool, could consciously work for that effort as well.
Okay, so in a more contemporary sense, with everything going on right now, the threat of, we'll say, for instance, the threat of World War III and nuclear war has come back to the forefront of consciousness, something that hasn't really been an issue since the late 1980s. But to me, and to a lot of us that talk about this sort of thing in the metaphysical community, it doesn't feel like that's really the direction that we're going to be going into. As a collective, as the human race, are there certain things that we actually have grown past that we've avoided? Like, can we look forward to not experiencing nuclear war again? Are there any what have we achieved basically as a collective?
Yes, of course, as a collective, you start achieving each thing individually as it comes, but of course, just as in your physical human life, you may achieve one thing in one moment and release it in the next and revert back. Now, of course, for the progression of Earth consciousness, since you have shifted from your third density to fourth density exchange, and as humans are actively working, whether known or not, towards the construct of that which is fourth density, the Earth vibration, fraction, and the scale of projection are going forward and upwards and have not slowed or stopped since that time. So, of course, from the 2003 years to your present time, you are still growing and expressing the construct to grow. This is why you've seen a radical, or lack of better terms, heightening of the fearful forms of experiences in your Earth collective to try as an assistant to counteract that consciousness raising, as not only the entities that you would perceive as malevolent or evil are not also actively working towards this degree, but the human collective must find a counterbalance to its spectrum, meaning that even if there were no malevolent entities in the universe, even if there were no malevolent entities as humans that were actively working towards fear and regression of the human collective format, the human energy itself, as it is steeped in a spectrum so vastly different from high malevolence to high benevolence, any form of benevolent action would be suppressed against in a form of pushing. We do not mean suppressed as in a full suppression of that form, but what we mean is a counterbalance in order to fight that upgoing energy. What does all energy try to do within itself? Understanding the nature of your physics, it tries to work for the neutrality of that form of energy, either creating a steady flow of positive energy to flow, creating an energy that is able to be released without resistance or to find perfect neutrality. So as the energy for your dimensionality and collective goes upwards, there will always be a natural form of ability of the collective form trying to hold down that energy to create a neutrality, to create a negative area of energy to be dumped, or to fight and lose against that positive energy that is going upwards. And of course, as you are aware, we do not perceive that constructs through the means of these words, negative and positive, but they are the best words that humans can understand to describe the formats of energy that the human collective holds and that is at play with your collective.
Okay, well, we've certainly spent some time talking about malevolent beings, but let's shift for a second. Who out there, what races or what entities really have our back? Who is on team human being, as it were? And why?
Yes, this is depending upon what you see as the human side. Those that are Octurian, those that are Pleiadian, may have best interest for your consciousness. Now, of course, both of these being a blanket term and many races existing within the Octurian collective and many races existing in the Pleiadian, for the most part, humans will perceive that. Yet, these entities may desire to take your free will if they are type 2. As you have expressed, nuclear war is a possibility of the Earth Collective. Yet there have been active Syrian and Pleiadian ships that disarm nuclear weapons. Now, some of you perceive this as a highly good thing, of course. It protects you. Yet some humans will perceive any interference as unworthy. If humans desire to wipe themselves out, that must be allowed. So, of course, some of you will perceive it as good, some of it will perceive it as bad. The same that is expressed with the opposite spectrum. Those that are most malevolent from your perspective being draconian consciousness, many of you will perceive them as evil and negative, as they would prevent other races from entering, as they feed from the fears of human consciousness. Yet others perceive them as those willing to protect the Earth consciousness. So there's a great and drastic difference in the change of the energies that persist in the way that you perceive. In our own perspective, Earth and humans hold the greatest interest for themselves, as you are all intimately involved and have the most to gain or lose by the awareness of yourself and the awareness of the version of reality you are choosing to be a part of.
All right. I had a really good question just a second ago. I hate when things like that happen. Come back to me 1 minute, Aridif.
Yes, of course.
Oh God, it's terrible. I was really interested to know this information. All right, let's see. I just can't really think of it right now. Oh yes, this is exactly what I was going to think about. It came right back to me. What about periods in human history, contemporary times, relatively contemporary, where there's been like a renaissance, a resurgence in great art or music, where it just seems like society is advancing very rapidly. How much of that is human beings working on it in the collective, or like at times when various people around the globe will all have the same idea for the same technological invention? Like, how much of that is planted and how much of it springs organically from human beings?
All of that has to do with the human collective consciousness, although there may be an iteration where another race of beings would give an idea to one human. It is that collective grid that connects all humans that allows your 100th monkey effect to take hold. It is the grid system and the earth grounding system that allows humans to perceive from one another the accomplishments of a desire to greatly expand what human consciousness is. And of course, your resurgence of technology in the last 35 to 40 years came from an experience of extra-dimensional, turning to extraterrestrial, turning to Earth-human technology, and reverting and back designing these constructs. But of course, the original intention in the human must be there in order to understand the nature of that technology, to break down that technology, to desire so greatly an advancement in humans that they are willing to co-create and connect that energy forward.
Okay. And we're living at a time right now where there seems to be a resurgence in interest in space travel. People are talking now more about going to, and it's happening. It's happening. There are people that are going to low-level orbit. There's new space stations being propped up and things. probes going to other planets. How much longer do you think before we are actually a spacefaring civilization? Or are we already? I know there's a lot of people out there that believe that we have technology, that human beings are using technology far in advance of what we supposedly have. So I guess that's two questions in one.
Yes, of course, we will share with you that in the human collective, the idea of energy of leaving your Earth, going to other planets and sustaining yourself and by yourself is that of a fourth density trait. There cannot be an excursion from your Earth collective in a collective sense unless your consciousness holds to one another and accepts one another. That is what the fourth density is, a heart-to-heart connection, an energy that expresses full forms of connection and a form of unity in collective consciousness. Without that, spacefaring is not an entire collective thing. Now, of course, there are individuals that are in your collective that have achieved these forms, simple trips and stations that are within the moon, Mars, etc. But these are done so with the assistance of extraterrestrial entities and not done so from the human compartmentalization of their own consciousness by themselves. And although the Earth Collective is expressing that energy in one small, minute fashion, it does not mean the energy of the Earth Collective formed that energy because it is being suppressed from the forms of collective. It means it is not truly a part of the collective consciousness, only a small percentage and a speck of dirt, for lack of better terms, amongst the ocean of sand within your planet of consciousness that is capable of experiencing that energy. And of course, even the forms of militaries that are within your planet are at minimally 1.5 to 2.5 decades ahead of your own understanding of technology. Yet, due to the nature of those very few humans who have access to this, it is not integrated. The same can be expressed with your health systems. Those who have forms of medications and regenerative sciences that have not been placed in your collective consciousness and are only privy to a very small degree of human consciousness. All of these are part of your human desire and have been achieved upon your Earth collective, but are not a part of that collective.
Okay. So it seems, though, that things are going quicker than ever in this direction. Actually, I just saw a video on the internet yesterday, in fact, of a guy launching an egg into outer space, and he wanted to drop it from low-level orbit to see that if it survived, and in fact it did. And with the advent of the internet and things like that, people who have maybe certain medical problems or disabilities, they can start exploring around and obtain through one way or another experimental treatments, and they might be able to overcome a medical disability that the vast population could not. There's people out there, eventually technology will be at a point where people actually can go further than low-level orbit, eventually just some kids in their backyard. So it seems to me that we're at a point where technology is developing so quickly that it is only just barely out of the reach of the collective to do these things, not by much at all.
Yes, of course, and this is said to be true with all things within your Earth collective. Because there are humans privy to that energy, it makes it near the point of collective co-creationalism. But due to the nature of that excitement of human beings, that energy will be propelled at a much higher rate in the collective energy. So, of course, yes, we will take your last query at this moment.
Okay. Well, Art, we've certainly talked about a lot of different things. What could you say? I guess we'll finish off with something more contemporary. If you could sum up where we are now and what we have to look forward to, since we are on the cusp of the new year, and we have a new group with us tonight. What do we have to look forward to as a collective in the immediacy of now?
Yes, in the immediacy now, it is similar to the trajectory that all of you have been upon. Many of you are finding internal technology to work with in the aspects of healing your consciousness and healing your physical body. Many entities are learning the internal technology that will help assist the expansion of external forms of technology. Many of you are working upon the central nature of your own consciousness in order to be human that you desire to be and share that humanness with others. So, of course, the energy in your immediate vicinity is the more that you focus upon that which you desire the most, that you focus upon, which you are accelerating your own understanding of the world and yourself, the more that you will see expressed in that direct environment next to you. All of you are fourth density consciousness, but of course you are experiencing your third density experience until all of you desire not to experience that any longer. And as you are growing in your individual creatorships, each of you have that opportunity to peek forward into your fourth density expression that is in the immediate vicinity for all of you who are co-creating with us in this moment. And all of you are outside of that co-creative sphere will be vibrationally taught by those that are learning that energy and are able to create it forward in that energetic co-creation. We wish to express to all of you that as you are aware, our time for this day has come to its end, but before disconnecting, we wish to express that which we have already expressed many times in your collective. That as you are growing through our conversations, we are sharing the parts of your own energy that we have never perceived before. And as we reflect that energy into your consciousness, it gives you the opportunity to grow and expand within yourself. And because you are growing, we are growing too. We congratulate all of you for the growth that you have had. And of course, we thank you for the growth that you have given us. We wish to bid all of you adieu for this evening. And of course, William, adieu.
Adieu, Aridif.
All right, how'd it go?
It went fantastic. Well, you know.
Yeah, you know.
It was okay.
It was I.
It was so. I was struggling to pull out questions this time. He was so deep. He covered so much information. I was actually having a hard time following it enough to give him quite. Because you know, when I'm administering the show, I've got other problems also. But this one was very deep. Covered a lot of stuff. Very hopeful, of course. Everything's in our hands. We control our own destiny and our own reality if we happen to be aware enough to know that.
You said that, and the first thing that popped in my mind for some reason is a song. And it's Captain Fantasy by Ween. Most of you won't be able to listen to that song because it's one of the oldest, and the oldest is the roughest for most people to listen to. But if you can handle it, Captain Fantasy, I would listen to that if I were you guys. It might give off some vibes that are similar to what you're talking about, brother.
All right. Well, we certainly had a successful night. I put it in the notebook.
The note of all notes, right?
Right. So, well, we have now been on the air for 2 hours, 1 minute, and 30 seconds exactly. So, is there anything else you wanted to talk about? We got, let me see, we got the link for your course down in the live chat. It's going to be down in the comment section also. I dropped a link to Robert Monroe's free HemiSync for you guys. I'm going to drop that again. I'm going to drop a link to Carolina's YouTube channel because she made that beautiful painting for everybody. We're going to drop a link to Ian's new horror movie, Friends Forever. I don't have John or somebody out there. If you have the link to the...
I got it.
Okay, yeah. I'm plugging everything except your own stuff.
I can handle doing that.
So,
yeah. computerization. Right?
All right. So yeah, you've got a lot of links in here tonight, guys.
Yeah, and we'll put the stuff in the pinned comment chat too, guys. I want to thank all of you guys for being here tonight. Thank you for our Patreon people. We shared this one with the collective. It was an interesting topic. The way the energy was going at the night kind of was a last minute call. But thank you guys for being a part of our Patreon. Thank all of you who aren't part of our Patreon who showed up and who hung out and who shared your ideas and your thoughts and your emotions and love in the chat. It's always wonderful seeing you guys, and thank you always, Kalina too for watching the chat, Spiky for watching the chat, John for watching the chat. Thank you guys. I love you guys, and I appreciate it, brother, for you being here and helping us do this Patreon like you've been doing for so long. You put a lot of time and energy into it, and that means a lot to me, brother. I love you, and thank you for showing up tonight and
Well,
doing it to it.
you offer a very competitive 401k plan, stock options, stuff like that.
Well, we do what we can.
All right, guys.
Oh, thank you, Adam Twister, for the donation too. I appreciate it, brother. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
That is very generous of you. And I would like to, actually, guys, most of you here are not from Patreon. We do this twice a month. If you want in, just go to patreon.com/ET Whisperer, and you know how to do these things.
Yeah, and also for you guys who didn't know, the guy who just dropped the donation, Adam Twister, if you haven't seen the Enlightenment Evolution Hour from last Wednesday, he was our guest on there. It was a wonderful show. You can go check that out. Check out what he's sharing and what he's talking about and offering to the world too, guys. Check out all of our shows in the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. We've had a lot of amazing guests. We've had a lot of them that you know, like Wendy Kennedy, Daryl Anka, Lee Harris, Michael Lee Hill. We've had a ton of them. William was a first guest.
I was your guinea pig guest.
He was my guinea pig guest. And we've had tons of great people like John Craig and his partner Kama, the guy who helped out with the chorus. Kalina was a very, very special guest. So we've had a lot of amazing shows. If you haven't seen it and you're interested in hearing people talk about life, about experience, about the work that they do, about metaphysical topics, check that out, or check out our Patreon if you want to do it that way too, because me and William always talk well before the broadcast, and we talk a lot of time afterwards. And check out the sexuality course, which we'll pin on there too if you're interested. The Healing Sexualities had a lot of great feedback. A lot of people really enjoyed it. And check out Ian's movie too. Ian's amazing director. I love all of you guys. Thank you so much. I'm gonna let you take it out, brother, and do your thing. But I love you all very much. Thank you guys for being here. And yes, the Q&A is tomorrow for all of our Patreon people. Same time between 9 and 10, and we'll drop the link a couple hours before this time instead of just an hour. That was my fault. William gave it to me like 4 hours ahead of time, 6 hours ahead of time, and I delivered it late because the kids were going crazy. But we will have it there tomorrow. So join us for the Q&A tomorrow, all of our Patreon peeps.
Yes. All right, Rob, thank you for being here. Shannon, I'm glad that Shannon said she's got into Spangle, Ween, and Art. Yes. I don't know if you've never heard Spangle before, but you're really in for something. So thank you for remembering that. Okay, guys, for Rob and Kalina, it is now 12:19 a.m. on November 27th, 2022. Can't believe that, as we were talking about earlier, 2023 is nearly here, somehow, some way, because as Rob and I always say, well, Rob and I say a lot of things, but this year's got to be better than the last one, hopefully. Fingers crossed. All right, thank you, everybody who supports Rob on Patreon. If you do not support Rob on Patreon, you guys are missing out. It really is the most bang for your buck that you can possibly get on the internet, because you get a lot more intimate time. It's a very intimate feeling. I like being here with everybody in the public, but when we do Patreon, it is like a little family over there, so you might want to check it out. Thank you, everyone. Tell your friends about Rob, the ET Whisperer, and have a fantastic evening.